8 proven ways to accelerate muscle growth for men over 40 years old. When we start training, results usually appear quickly, isn't that right? It's that magical phase where simply attending the gym a few days a week and consuming a good amount of protein is enough to see our body transforming. The problem is that this phenomenon, known as beginner gains, unfortunately misleads many people. When the rate of progress inevitably slows down, frustration sets in and many end up giving up, without understanding that building muscles goes far beyond simply lifting weights. The fact is that when stagnation appears, we need specific strategies to continue optimizing muscle building, especially after 40 years of age, when our metabolism and hormone production naturally begin to change. Therefore, today you will see 8 scientifically proven ways to accelerate your muscle growth, regardless of your age or training experience. Pay close attention until the end because number 3 is the most important. Strategy number 8, lift heavier weights. If you want to grow, you need to create a stimulus strong enough for your body to understand that it needs to adapt. Progressively increasing the weight you lift is one of the most effective ways to make this happen. When you lift heavier loads, you recruit a larger number of muscle fibers, especially the type 2 fast twitch fibers, which have the greatest potential for hypertrophy. But attention, I'm not talking about simply picking up the heaviest weight in the gym and risking an injury. The increase should be gradual and always maintaining proper technique. A good strategy is to work with the principle of progressive overload, increasing between 2.5% to 5% of the weight, when you can complete all the proposed repetitions with ease. For men over 40 years old, this is even more important. With the natural decline in testosterone that occurs from this age, we need to maximize the available anabolic stimuli. Training with heavier loads stimulates not only direct muscle growth, but also the natural production of anabolic hormones such as testosterone and GH. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research showed that men who trained with loads between 80 to 85% of a weight they could only do 1 maximum repetition had greater muscle mass gains than those who constantly trained with lighter loads, even when the total volume was equated. This doesn't mean you need to always train with maximum loads. A periodized approach can be more effective, alternating phases of higher intensity with phases of greater volume. This variation not only optimizes gains, but also reduces the risk of injuries and overtraining. Strategy 7, train closer to failure. You've heard that famous phrase, no pain, no gain? Although it's not entirely accurate, there is truth behind it when we talk about hypertrophy. Training close to muscle failure, that point where you can barely complete 1 more repetition with proper technique, is a potent trigger for muscle growth. When you take your muscle close to failure, you maximize the recruitment of motor units and the activation of all available muscle fibers in that group. This creates greater metabolic and mechanical stress, 2 fundamental factors for triggering muscle repair and growth processes. A study published in the European Journal of Applied Physiology demonstrated that training to or near failure produced greater gains in strength and hypertrophy compared to training that ended many repetitions before failure, even when the total volume was equated. But there is an important balance here. Training to failure in all exercises and in all sets can quickly lead to overtraining and increase the risk of injuries, especially for those over 40 years old. A smarter approach is to reserve training to failure for the last sets of each exercise and for isolation exercises that impose less stress on the central nervous system. It's worth remembering that failure doesn't mean completely losing technique. We're talking about the inability to complete 1 more repetition while maintaining proper form. Sacrificing technique for more repetitions is the fastest path to injuries, especially after 40, when our connective tissues don't recover as quickly as before. Strategy 6, loaded stretching. Muscle growth stimulated by stretching occurs when the enormous titin protein undergoes stretching, generating passive mechanical tension in the muscular system. This phenomenon manifests when your muscles are stretched while supporting weight, and you maintain active contraction to manage the load, particularly in moments when the muscle reaches its maximum extension. You can incorporate this technique into a traditional weightlifting session, deliberately reducing the pace during the second half of the negative phase of the movement, and possibly introducing a brief pause in the position of greatest stretch to intensify the stretching effect. This mechanism clarifies why, as demonstrated by research published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, training that emphasizes positions of maximum muscle stretching allows certain muscle groups to achieve optimal development, even when we perform only incomplete movements. However, if you have concerns about unstable joints or fear of injuries, a viable alternative would be to implement stretches between exercise sets. This approach consists of performing a static stretch right after completing the last repetition of a set, theoretically taking advantage of the residual benefits of previous eccentric contractions. In this modality, instead of continuing with additional repetitions, you simply maintain the stretching position under load for at least 20 seconds. A systematic review published in the Journal of Sports Medicine indicates that, to obtain effective results, this stretching should combine high intensity and considerable volume. In practical terms, use significant loads in your stretches and practice them regularly. Before we continue to number 5, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Having constant access to correct and science-based information is what will make you progress in the long term in the world of bodybuilding. Strategy 5. Take creatine. Let's demystify once and for all. Creatine is one of the safest and most studied supplements in the fitness world, and no, it does not cause hair loss. This myth arose from a misinterpretation of some studies that suggested a possible relationship between creatine and increased DHT, a hormone associated with male baldness. However, broader scientific reviews have not confirmed this relationship. Creatine is actually a substance that our own body produces naturally, mainly in the liver, kidneys, and pancreas. It is stored primarily in the muscles, where it plays a crucial role in the rapid production of energy during high-intensity activities, such as strength training. For men over 40 years old, creatine offers particularly valuable benefits. First, it directly increases the ability to perform high-intensity work, allowing more repetitions or the use of heavier loads, which, as you've already seen, are both critical factors for stimulating muscle growth. Additionally, creatine has demonstrated the ability to increase IGF-1 levels, an important growth factor that tends to decrease with age. It also has intracellular water retention properties, which not only provides that more full look to the muscles, but also creates a more anabolic cellular environment, favoring protein synthesis. An interesting fact: research shows that approximately 30% of the population has a limited response to creatine, the so-called non-responders. But even in these cases, the cognitive and neuroprotective benefits of creatine, which are especially relevant after 40 years of age, are still present. Therefore, even if you don't notice a dramatic difference in performance or muscle appearance, creatine still offers advantages that go beyond the physical. Strategy 4. Check and refine protein consumption. Okay, you already know that protein is the fundamental building block of muscles, and that we should eat around 2 grams per kilogram of body weight daily, approximately 0.9 grams per pound. However, the fact is that optimizing your intake goes far beyond simply reaching a daily goal. For men over 40 years old, who naturally face a decrease in muscle protein synthesis, a strategic approach makes all the difference. As important as the total amount is the distribution throughout the day. Research indicates that to maximize protein synthesis, we should consume portions of approximately 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein every 3 to 4 hours during the day. This provides a constant supply of amino acids to the muscles, creating ideal conditions for growth. Timing also matters, especially at 2 critical moments. First, protein consumption after training, ideally within an hour, takes advantage of the muscle's greater sensitivity to amino acids during this period. A rapidly absorbing protein shake like whey protein is ideal at this time. The second crucial moment is before sleep. Studies conducted by Dr. Luc Van Loon and his team demonstrated that consuming 30 to 40 grams of casein, a slow-digesting protein, 1 to 3 hours before sleeping, can significantly increase muscle protein synthesis rates during the night, precisely when much of muscle repair and growth occurs. Casein releases amino acids slowly over several hours, providing a constant supply during sleep. Beyond quantity and timing, protein quality also deserves attention. Complete proteins containing all essential amino acids, especially those rich in leucine, a potent protein synthesis stimulator, should be prioritized. Good sources include meats, eggs, dairy products, and, for vegetarians, strategic combinations of legumes and grains. Strategy 3. Perform more sets. When we talk about muscle building, training volume is one of the most determining factors for success. And one of the most direct ways to increase this volume is through the number of sets you perform for each muscle group throughout the week. Several meta-analyses, including one published in the Journal of Sports Sciences, demonstrated a dose-response relationship between the number of weekly sets and hypertrophy gains. In practical terms, researchers found that performing between 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week produced superior results compared to smaller volumes. For men over 40 years old, this volume needs to be distributed strategically. As our recovery capacity naturally decreases with age, dividing this volume into more training sessions can be more productive than trying to accumulate many sets in a single workout. For example, instead of doing 12 sets for chest in a single day, it might be more effective to do 6 sets on 2 different days of the week. The increase in the number of sets should be gradual. If you currently do 6 weekly sets for each main muscle group, don't immediately jump to 15. Increase to 8 or 9 weekly sets, maintain for a few weeks, assess your progress and recovery, and then consider another increase. A frequently neglected aspect is the quality of these sets. Performing more sets is only beneficial if each one is executed with adequate intensity. Decorative sets, where you just go through the motions without real effort, add little to the growth stimulus and can even hinder recovery. Each additional set should maintain the same standard of quality and intensity. Finally, remember that the increase in training volume requires proportional adjustments in nutrition and recovery. More sets mean higher energy demand and greater muscle breakdown, requiring more calories, more proteins, and more attention to rest between workouts. Strategy 2. Consider using caffeine pre-workout. Forget those expensive pre-workouts full of mysterious ingredients and proprietary formulas. The truth is that the main active component in most of these products is simply caffeine, and it's caffeine that provides most of the benefits we feel. The rest is frequently added to justify higher prices and increase profit margins. Caffeine is one of the best studied and most effective ergogenics available, and it works through multiple mechanisms. First, it blocks adenosine receptors, reducing the feeling of fatigue and increasing alertness. Additionally, caffeine increases the release of catecholamines like adrenaline, which prepares your body for intense physical activity. It also improves muscle contraction and increases fatty acid mobilization, sparing muscle glycogen. A study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition showed that caffeine intake before training not only improved overall performance, but also significantly increased the number of repetitions that participants were able to perform to failure, a critical factor for stimulating muscle growth, as we saw earlier. The ideal dosage of caffeine for ergogenic benefits is between 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, consumed approximately 30 to 60 minutes before training. For a man weighing 176 pounds, 80 kilograms, this means something between 240 to 480 milligrams of caffeine. A strong cup of coffee contains about 100 to 150 milligrams, while a double espresso may have 150 to 200 milligrams. An important point to consider: our bodies develop tolerance to caffeine with regular use. To maximize its benefits, consider using it strategically only on the most important or challenging workouts, such as strength record days or high-intensity sessions. On other days, training without caffeine can help preserve your sensitivity to it. Also remember that caffeine has a half-life of approximately 5 to 6 hours. For men over 40, who often already face challenges with sleep, it's important to consider the time of training. If you train at night, the benefits of caffeine may not outweigh the cost of impaired sleep, which is absolutely crucial for recovery and muscle growth. And with this, we've already fitted in one of the most crucial strategies of the video. Strategy 1. Sleep well enough. If there is one factor that separates those who achieve consistent results from those who plateau, it is undoubtedly sleep quality. Sleeping between 7 to 9 hours per night should be your goal, but quantity is only part of the equation. Sleep quality makes all the difference. During deep sleep, your body releases approximately 70% of daily growth hormone, essential for repairing and building muscle tissue. A study in the Sleep Science Journal showed that athletes with sleep deprivation had significantly reduced levels of testosterone and IGF-1, two fundamental hormones for hypertrophy. This is where sleep hygiene becomes crucial, and where 99% of people fail miserably in the modern world. Start by eliminating blue light exposure at least 1 to 2 hours before sleeping. This light, emitted by phones, computers, and TVs, suppresses melatonin production, the hormone that signals to the body that it's time to sleep. Use glasses that block blue light at night or activate night filters on your devices. Your bedroom should be transformed into a sanctuary for sleep. This means temperature between 60 to 66 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 to 19 degrees Celsius, the ideal range for inducing and maintaining deep sleep. Total darkness. Use blackout curtains and eliminate all lights, even small LEDs from devices. Complete silence or constant white noise to mask disturbing sounds. Try to avoid heavy meals in the 2 to 3 hours before sleeping. Active digestion can interfere with sleep quality, although a small protein-rich meal, as we discussed in the previous topic, might be beneficial. Similarly, limit fluid intake in the hours preceding sleep to minimize nighttime interruptions to go to the bathroom. The caffeine we mentioned as beneficial pre-workout should be avoided in the 8 to 10 hours before sleeping due to its long half-life. And yes, this means that if you go to sleep at 10 p.m., your last coffee should be around noon, something very few people respect. Establish a consistent nightly ritual that signals to your body that it's time to slow down. It can include reading on paper, meditation, gentle stretches, or a warm bath. By implementing these sleep strategies, you will literally be doing what almost nobody does, and consequently, obtaining results that almost nobody gets. In the era of multiple screens and constant notifications, prioritizing sleep is perhaps the most underestimated competitive advantage in muscle building. And if you want to know a few more strategies that will enhance the amount of muscle you gain while sleeping, we've left a video appearing right now on the screen where we discuss all the nighttime habits that can enhance your muscle gain while you sleep. Thank you for watching this far, and may God bless you, my friend.